Good evening. It is Friday, March 15th, 10:09 Eastern Standard Time. I'm your host, Dottley. This is the Common Sense Party podcast. This podcast mission is to inform our listeners on the topics that affect the everyday person. Rate, review, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. Please. We're available on wherever you get your podcasts. Please give us 5 stars, give us 4 stars, give us 3 stars, give us 2 stars. Even give us 1. If you don't give us any stars, I'll just assume we're doing it properly. We're available on Spotify, Amazon Music, Samsung Podcast, Pandora, Google Podcast. Google Podcast is going away at the end of the month. You go to YouTube Music, iTunes Radio, and announcing we will be on Apple Podcast in the month of April. Fingers crossed. You can contact us at the Common Sense Party Pod at gmail.com. We're available on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. You can support via Cash App or Zelle. The information is on the About page. Yes, let's get it started. Today, if you didn't know, the judge gave his verdict on the defamation. I guess it's defamation of Fani Willis. And in Fanni We Trust, we can go to what the verdict was, and she was not removed from the case. The dude that she was having the relationship with had to be removed, or she would remove, but they'll explain it better than me. Stand by.
We're going to turn now to some breaking news. As you know, we've been waiting for word on the Georgia election case and whether Fani Willis can continue. Lisa Rubin has breaking news right now. Lisa, what can you tell us?
Hey, Mika, we have a decision from Judge Scott McAfee of the Fulton County Superior Court. In a 23-page decision this morning, he finds that there is not an actual conflict of interest that was proven by the defendants here, but he also finds that there's significant appearance of impropriety that infects the entire current structure of the prosecution team. And therefore, he gives Fani Willis a choice. She can either choose to remove herself and her entire office from the prosecution of this case, or she can determine that Nathan Wade, the special assistant district attorney who has been helming the leadership of this case, can himself be removed from the case, which would allow her and the remainder of the Fulton County District Attorney's Office to go forward. Mika, that's a victory for Fani Willis here. But that having been said, despite the fact that she has been given an easy choice here, notwithstanding that, there is plenty here for the Trump folks to exploit. And in particular, he finds that there was a failure to be as completely honest with the tribunal as these folks should have been. The quote that is really sticking in my mind right now is when he talks about the testimony of Nathan Wade and Fani Willis. He basically says that they did not put concerns that were raised by the defendants to rest, that while the defendants did not prove that there was an actual conflict of interest and meet their burden of proof, an odor of mendacity remains. That's a direct quote from page 16 of this opinion. And he says he's not under an obligation, again, I'm quoting to you, to ferret out every instance of potential dishonesty from each witness or defendant ever presented in open court, but reasonable questions about whether the district attorney and her hand-selected lead SATA, that means special assistant district attorney, testified untruthfully about the timing of their relationship, further underpin the finding of an appearance of impropriety and the need to make proportional efforts to cure it. At the end of his decision, Mika, he's essentially saying, look, disqualification isn't necessary here where there is a less drastic and sufficiently remedial solution available. And that's when he gives Fani Willis the choice. You can either remove yourself in your office, or you can say, as one of our colleagues said to me informally today, boy, bye, you're gone, Nathan Wade, and we will continue to prosecute this case. I just want to zoom out for a second, Mika, and also make one other point to you and our viewers. Notwithstanding the fact that Fani Willis gets to remain on this case, the Trump team and the co-defendants really succeeded here in one other key respect. You know that the modus operandi of the Trump legal world is delay, delay, delay. This motion was made by Ashley Merchant, who is the lawyer for Mike Roman. He was the director of operations for Election Day for the Trump campaign. She made that motion on January 8th, 2024. We are now on March 15th. It took us more than 2 months to complete all of the briefing and evidentiary hearings and closing arguments, and now the decision on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they want to do. They want to delay the case up until after the election, just in case he wins. But she still has to go because the Republicans control the Senate and the House in Georgia, so she still has to go above in front of them to I guess the ethics review. People saying that she did improper. I think she didn't. She paid him back. She paid him back for whatever it wasn't. She was just having sex with someone she hired. That's all it was. It was if it was a man, he would probably got fired. But hopefully she keeps her job. I doubt it, because they're going to push to have the ethics review in by the House and the state and have her removed as the district attorney, because they're trying to play the long game about Trump and his one of his cases, because this is just one. And and Nathan Wade took one for the team, because if he didn't remove himself, she would have been removed from the entire office would have been removed from the case, and he would probably been fired anyway. So I think this is a stand in the eye for Miss Willis because of a personal decision, but she's still a good lawyer, and hopefully she still keeps her post. Let's hear what TYT is saying.
Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade has announced his resignation from the Donald Trump Fulton County election subversion case. We're going to get into the events that led to this and the criticism from the judge of the AG in a little bit. But first, we do want to show you the letter that was sent to Fani Willis announcing that he'd be resigning. You can see it there, and we'll read just a little bit of what he said in announcing it. I am offering my resignation in the interest of democracy and dedication to the American public, and to move the case forward as quickly as possible. Now, Nathan Wade taking himself off of this case, resigning, means that Fani Willis will go forward in the case. A new lead prosecutor will need to either be hired or appointed from within her team of lawyers. And so that's how they're responding to the developments that we will go into great detail on. We also wanted to give you the response of the main target of this investigation, Donald Trump, facing a half dozen counts in regards to his attempt to overturn the results of that election. He talked about Nathan Wade resigning by saying this: the Fani Willis lover, Mr. Nathan Wade Esquire, nice of him to give him the title, has just resigned in disgrace as per his and her reading of the judge's order today. Nathan was the special, in more ways than one, prosecutor engaged by Fani, pronounced Fani Willis, I guess. Why is he clarifying that? We'll get into it. There are reasons. They're racist. To persecute Trump for crooked Joe Biden and his DO injustice for purposes of election interference and living the life of the rich and famous. What is going on with him today? This is the equivalent of deranged Jack Smith getting canned. Big stuff. Something which should happen in the not too distant future. Okay, so he's the lover, and he was special in more ways than one, or whatever. It's the former president of the United States. And he's talking about how her name is pronounced. And it's not lost on me that Alina Habba also had weird things to say about the pronunciation of her name on the news earlier this week. And they're prosecuting him for election interference and for living the life of the rich and famous. Like, you didn't call Brad Raffensperger and try to get him to make up 11,000 votes because you were living large or had a nice mansion. What are you talking about? So, look, I honestly don't know. They're somewhat rhetorical questions. Cenk, what do you think about this development and Trump's reaction?
Yeah. So first of all, the more important stuff is what actually happened in regards to the case. And yeah, I agree with the judge on all counts. Fani Willis took a ridiculous risk in doing this. And he even questioned whether you should believe her. But overall, the case goes on. That's the most important thing, because the case has nothing to do with the relationship of Willis and Wade. That's a different problem, in my opinion, for the people of Fulton County to deal with. Directing some public money towards a boyfriend, if that's what happened, etc. But in terms of whether that affects whether Donald Trump did it or not, that doesn't affect the case at all. And the judge said it, the case goes on, it doesn't affect it. Wade's got to go, he does, etc. In terms of Trump's reaction, I mean, the buffoon's gonna buffoon, right? So that he was always gonna say something stupid. And if he's trying to make Fanni sound like phony, why not just write phony instead of F-A-U-N-I? I don't, who knows what's going on inside his very empty mind. I mainly picture a game of Pong, where his one brain cell keeps bouncing from ba-ding, ba-ding, ba-ding.
Those are like sound effects he makes.
Yeah, that's right.
Bing bong.
And so, and he says it's gonna happen to Jack Smith next. No, it's not. He's just making stuff up. He's never said anything true in his life. So his reaction is the usual juvenile stuff. I'm not surprised by that. But mainly, I don't really care what happens to Fanni Willis and her career. Who knows what's gonna happen from here? I can speculate later. What I care about is the case, and the case survives. Other than the counts that were dismissed, we can get into that too. But Mondale, I'm curious what you think.
A lot of mainstream media don't give you honest news. We do. You know why? Because of you. Paid membership on.
Yeah. Again, like I said, she's gonna go up against an ethics board.
That point right there, Jink, like the fact that the case is still on, Trump is still on trial for trying to steal an election, right? And he's talking about disgrace and all of the things he had to say about the attorney that stepped down, her lover. It's hilarious to me that he finds this disgraceful, but not him trying to steal an election that he lost. Not that he has been, found liable for rape. That's not disgraceful. And what this judge did do was give too much wind, 2 months, too long for emotion that he didn't believe was grounded in reality or facts, right? So the problem is when he talked about the appearance of impropriety or appearance of anything, it just gives wind to the Trump argument. And I think all of those people, because if we really cared about appearance, then Trump would not be Republican nominee. So they don't care about appearance. And the same people that was praising this judge for dropping 3 charges this day today in history, they began to talk trash about him and call him a leftist and said he was a plant, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because of the appearance is the only reason. The judge himself said there was no conflict of interest that prevented this case from happening in this county by this DA. The sad part for Trump is he's too blinded by what he thinks is a victory of what's about to happen to him. He's just unleashed all of the fear. And the worst thing can happen to him is if Fanni Willis does take over this case as lead prosecutor herself, because she's gonna be a ninja in that court at him.
Yeah, this whole thing's so utterly.
I told y'all, she's going to take it personal and she's going to dig into the case. Hopefully she does, because they brought up her personal life and try to embarrass her. So you know what you do? You never embarrass a black woman. Never embarrass a black woman.
Utterly point. Like if you're a MAGA person, you should be so mad at Trump for all of this. I don't mean because he tried to overturn the results of an election. I know that you don't care about democracy or whatever. But that he did all of this so pointlessly. Like think about all of the different legal challenges that he's facing, the criminal cases that are coming forward. Like he has this Georgia case. Even if he had succeeded in getting Brad Raffensperger to find him the 11,000 votes, he needed to flip like 3 other states. It wasn't gonna happen. This is all pointless. Storming the Capitol on January 6th, Mike Pence can't save you, buddy. It was pointless, and that's another trial. Paying off Stormy Daniels, everybody already knows that you're a horrible, horrible person. That was probably wasted money. Melania's under no illusions as to who you are. That was pointless. The stealing of the classified documents, what did he gain from that? It's not even like he achieved his most subversive, dishonest goals by committing these crimes. He accomplished nothing by committing these crimes except guaranteeing that he'd spend years facing legal challenges. They're gonna be a major distraction and waste of money during an election year. And along the way, the needless, constant mockery of the names of black women. They cannot pass up an opportunity, whether it's him or Alina Habba or Tucker Carlson with Kamala Harris. Like, I love that they continually complain about being called racist, and they're not even satisfied to just have the massive wide-scale systemic racism that they've baked into our country and our economy. They have to have the petty little conversational bigotry too. Utterly stupid.
Yeah, like I said, if she becomes the lead prosecutor, hopefully she does. And yeah, hopefully she does become the lead prosecutor and digs into the case and she takes it personally and rips him a new one. We're gonna listen to, well, I'll probably just do a little bit of this one because it's rinse and repeat because they're gonna probably say the same thing. This is Midas Touch.
No actual conflict meriting the disqualification of Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, but saying because of a potential appearance of impropriety, Fani Willis could remain on the RICO case as the prosecutor against Donald Trump, provided she accepted the resignation or on her own dismissed the position of the special prosecutor, Nathan Wade, who it was alleged she was in the relationship with. And within hours, Nathan Wade tendered his resignation, and Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis accepted the resignation, curing what Judge Scott McAfee said could be an appearance of impropriety. And folks, what this means is the prosecution against Donald Trump in the Georgia criminal RICO case now goes full steam ahead. There's no delay. The order has been cured, and it's back on track. Let's just take a look at the letter. Then, Popak, I want to get your take. March 15, 2024, right here. The letter says, "Dear Mr. Wade," this is from Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. This is where she accepts his resignation. "I received your resignation letter dated March 15, 2024, and I accept it. Effective immediately, I compliment you for the professionalism and dignity you have shown over the last 865 days. As you have endured threats against you and your family, as well as unjustified attacks in the media and in court on your reputation as a lawyer. I will always remember and will remind everyone that you were brave enough to step forward and take on the investigation and prosecution of the allegations that the defendant in this case engaged in a conspiracy to overturn Georgia's 2020 presidential election. Others who are considered were understandably concerned for the safety of themselves and their families that would arise from their acceptance of your role. You were the one who had the courage to accept the role, even though you did not seek it. You are an outstanding advocate. In the 865 days you served on this case, you completed a thorough investigation that required the use of a special purpose grand jury to compel the testimony of witnesses inside and outside of Georgia, including litigating in 8 states, the District of Columbia, and the United States Supreme Court to obtain critical testimony. You led a team that secured a true bill of indictment against 19 individuals who are accused of violating Georgia law to undermine the 2020 election for the former president of the United States. You have successfully litigated in the United States District Court and the United States Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit to ensure that Fulton County citizens will be the jurors who decide justice in this case. Please accept my sincere gratitude on behalf of the citizens of Fulton County, Georgia, for your patriotism, courage, and dedication to justice. I wish you the best in your future endeavors. Signed, yours in service, Fani T. Willis, District Attorney. Michael Popak, your response.
Fani Willis was put on the horns of a dilemma by the judge. We knew what she would do. She had no other choice. She's the elected constitutional officer and prosecutor for Fulton County, Georgia. People put her in that position in order to prosecute cases, not to have extracurricular relationships with their prosecutors. And she had no choice. She's up for re-election in November. She'll be down ballot from Donald Trump. She's already drawn a Trump-selected opposition candidate against her who's using what happened in the courtroom in her campaign literature. And so the velocity at which she accepted, in which Nathan Wade tendered the resignation, does not shock me. Karen and I did, Karen Freeman McNiffalo and I, our other colleague on Legal AF, did we got up early. We got up a little bit early, and we hit the hot take this morning about the actual breaking news, and we knew she had no choice. What I liked about her, and we're back to Fani Willis as Fani Willis, and I'll do something else on this a little bit later on a hot take, but the judge in the 23 pages or so of his decision did not completely, I don't want anybody to take away from his ruling that she's completely absolved. That's the current word going around after Robert Hur testified about our president in his testimony about the documents. She's not completely absolved. He had questions about her judgment, and he mentioned it. He had questions about a little bit about her truth telling, although he felt like the case wasn't made by the defense to take her off the case. And he used the appearance of impropriety, which you and I talked about, and I knew was coming because Judge McBurney, who he obviously values as a former chief judge of that division, had also removed her for an appearance of impropriety problem. And so he's moving towards a gag order on Fani Willis. That is going to be the taking her out, not taking her out of her position as prosecutor, but giving her a little bit of a public censure and reprimand. He invited the other side, the defense, to file a motion to gag her ability to speak outside of the courtroom about the case, because he doesn't like some of the things that she's done, like give the church speech on Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. But she's not gagged yet. And in this letter, which could have literally been one line apiece, Nathan Wade could have written one line. We don't know yet what Nathan Wade wrote because we haven't seen it. But Nathan Wade could have written, "I hereby resign, tender my resignation as of blah, blah, blah." And she could have just published a letter that said, "I hereby accept your resignation." And that's all that Judge McAfee required. But for 2 more pages, Fani Willis decided, I'm not gagged yet. I'm going to get my licks in, and I'm going to not only defend the professionalism of Nathan Wade, who the judge also questioned time and time again in that order. You don't use the phrase, there's an air of mendacity. I need to open a window and get rid of it, meaning an air of lying in this case. And he was looking at, in his order, he's looking at Nathan Wade, along with some other witnesses. So she wanted to rehabilitate Nathan Wade, which you read out loud, and she did. She wanted to compliment him as a friend and otherwise. She wanted to she didn't go directly against the judge, but she made a couple of statements in there that are retorts to the judge's comments about her. She may not have many more opportunities to do that, Ben, but she took it in her 2 pages and signed it as she always does. How did she sign that letter?
She signed it right here. It says, "Yours in service."
That's how, when Fani Willis writes on her letterhead, it's always "yours in service." And I give her a lot of compliments, and you and I probably would have done the same thing. But that is a powerful letter, but it's also a rejoinder to the judge in the order that just came out this morning.
I want to take a look also. We have the letter from Nathan Wade as well. Let me tell you what that says right here. It says, "Dear District Attorney Willis, the furtherance of is a true and just dedication to the American case, seeking us in the pursuit of justice."
That's I do too.
Look, I don't think they were on the phone and saying, no. You write this and I write this. I mean, when you work together, I think there's a general sentiment of, please submit, you could say it in a way, please submit your letter of resignation, and you should feel free to put in there how you feel. You can be candid, consistent with the court's order, and my response, consistent with the court's order, will also praise the work that you did. And I think, you can say it like that, and then
I quote it. It was a call and response, and I was appropriate. I'm not claiming by asking you that question there was anything inappropriate about it, but it's not. It was a coordinated, appropriate response to it. But again, all she had to do was a one line. These could have been 2 lines, but they purposefully were not, and I give them a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, it's the same thing when any leader in office requests the resignation of somebody, and it's done in a way that preserves reputation and comments on the circumstances. And so there you have kind of an update right there. I'm sure this isn't the last we will hear from Donald Trump's lawyers and the co-defendants' lawyers, who are going to grasp at any straw to try to derail this thing. But look, I think Judge McAfee reached the right outcome here. And we'll keep you posted, of course, with all of the updates. Make sure you subscribe to the...
That is what we had on Fonnie Willis. Again, she is going to go up against, I guess, an ethics committee in the state house because she's an elected official. And again, it's controlled by Republicans. The House and the Senate is controlled by Republicans in the state of Georgia. So they might kick her off before the election. They might give her bad reviews, but hopefully we the people of Georgia will reinstate her. She just made one mistake. Even though people make mistakes in the dating pool, as we see on YouTube, the dating pool is horrible. So get along, we fit in. So hopefully we vote her back in November. All right. Yes, it's a rematch between Biden and Trump. And come to tell you, I think I am nervous because of the dumb nonsense I hear people say about they're gonna vote. They are unenthused about Biden, but man did his job. We're not even in a recession. Trump left us in a recession when he left in 2020. Yeah, in 2020, we're out. We were out 3 years. 3 years, not even 3, 2.5 years in, we're out of a recession. So let's see what the Wall Street Journal is saying about this rematch.
President Biden and former President Donald Trump is happening.
We're effectively in a general election now. That's just unprecedented in a lot of ways. There's just so many unknowns.
While Biden faces obstacles like concerns about his age and declining approval ratings, Trump is juggling a set of challenges that no presidential candidates have ever confronted. Here's a look at those challenges and how Trump will try to turn them into opportunities. The 2024 election is gearing up to be a face-off between the oldest nominees in history. And it's going to be the first presidential rematch in the U.S. since 1956, when President Dwight Eisenhower faced and defeated Adlai Stevenson for the second time.
The result was never in doubt. It was a landslide for the Eisenhower-Nixon ticket.
We know from polling and just talking to voters around the country that people are really kind of weary about the notion of a Trump-Biden matchup, but that's what we're going to have. It's going to be all-consuming, I think, for the American public.
The race is now an endurance challenge for both candidates after Trump easily beat out his Republican rivals, including Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley.
Donald Trump's strength really shows how much of a hold he has on the party's base, the core voters. They are willing to swing with his different positions on issues that aren't always aligned with a certain feeling that's been long baked into the Republican Party. He didn't dabble much or tangle much with his rivals. Trump never got on the debate stage with his rivals. He felt he didn't have to. Why should he? We don't know his positions, for example, on some of the key foreign policy matters, like the war in the Middle East. So it's sort of kept him out of the scrutiny of political discourse. So it worked out well for him.
Trump's 2024 started off pretty busy, from campaign events to court hearings.
I'm going to have to sit here for months on a trial.
And sometimes those two things lined up on back-to-back days in very different locations. On February 14th, Trump spoke at a campaign rally in North Charleston, South Carolina.
Well, thank you very much, South Carolina, and happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
The next day, he was in New York for a hearing over his alleged role in a scheme to pay hush money to a porn star.
I'll be here during the day and I'll be campaigning during the night.
Trump has tried and has had some success so far marrying the two. Essentially, the campaign and the courtroom are the same. We've seen him when he goes to court, often speaking to reporters, making sure his voice is heard.
It's election interference at the highest level. It's a disgrace.
And kind of plowing ahead with his message that this is all designed to stop him politically.
I stand before you today not only as your past and hopefully future president, but as a proud political dissident.
That is going to be more difficult, of course, as these cases really take hold. You know, that's going to start to really eat into his ability to be out there on the campaign trail.
The legal trials have also drained his political coffers. In 2023, Trump's campaign spent roughly $50 million on legal fees. And between two New York civil lawsuits plus interest, the former president was ordered to shell out more than $500 million in financial penalties.
The spending for Trump on legal fees is a real open question, whether he can sustain the amount of money that he is devoting towards these cases, his lawyers, and defending himself. He does have the ability to raise a lot of money. Every time he's going to court, every time he leaves court, they fire off a campaign email asking for more money, saying that it's not just himself that's being persecuted, but his supporters. He's very good at personalizing what he's undergoing with his own supporters, and a lot of people feel that way, and they give more money.
While Trump has performed well in the GOP primaries, some warning signs indicate that voter enthusiasm for his return to the White House appears to be waning. In early state elections in Iowa and New Hampshire, nearly half of primary voters didn't vote for Trump. And when asked how they would feel if he became the nominee, many of the non-Trump voters in New Hampshire said they'd be so dissatisfied that they wouldn't vote for him in the general election.
Trump can't afford to lose too many Republican voters. He's trying to pull voters back into his fold and new voters by promising effectively a return to relative economic prosperity that marked his first term until COVID. The downside is that the economy is improving in a lot of ways for Joe Biden. We're going to see a lot of battles over who can sustain this growth that we're seeing.
Biden, as the sitting president whose approval ratings continue to drop, has his own challenges ahead. One of Biden's most striking vulnerabilities has come under intense scrutiny after a special counsel report investigating his mishandling of classified documents made several strong claims about his memory.
Something the special counsel said in his report is that one of the reasons you were not charged is because, in his description, you are a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing. I've been president, and I put this country back on its feet.
Age and mental acuity is one of the big issues facing Joe Biden and his attempts to win a second term. We see it poll after poll that Americans, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, think he is too old. That's why we've seen such an aggressive attempt by the White House and Democrats to sort of frame it in different ways.
I'm absolutely confident, based on his incredible record of success for the country, that he is the right person to lead the country for another 4 years.
Age isn't the only concern. More than half of the country thinks Biden's policies during his presidency have hurt more than they've helped. The face-off between Trump and Biden will test the stamina of both candidates and the voters. Polling has shown that a majority of Americans think neither Biden nor Trump should run for president again.
See, that's what I'm talking about. You just said they polled these people and they said his policies hurt. Donald Trump gave a tax cut to the rich that exploded the deficit, where every man, woman, and child will be paying, even if they'll be paying for maybe 75 to 80 years. He put $8 trillion on the debt in 4 years. Are you telling me that Biden has hurt how the Democrats need to do better? Okay, let me start my speech out. I am an independent, that I vote Democrat because Republicans don't know how to govern. Absolutely not. They do not know how to govern, or they're smart enough to break government and tell you that it's not working. All right. In that poll, it said that they polled and they said Biden's policies hurt more than they help, and Trump did it. Okay, we're going to go back in time when this dude started a trade war. And let's see what happened.
We have the big aluminum companies in the United States, and they've been very unfairly treated by bad policy, by bad trade deals. So we're going to build our steel industry back, and we're going to build our aluminum industry back.
These tariffs have not been good. They definitely have caused an impact where we are at a competitive disadvantage to foreign manufacturers of equipment.
The motherfucker don't know what a tariff is.
If you talked to farmers a few weeks ago, they would have said, we are behind the president, we are behind these policies, we understand the Section 301 challenges that our country needs to stand up for. And that's very different today because there's a huge hole. I mean, if somebody were to lose 20% of their income, that hurts. I don't care what segment of industry you're in, that hurts, and farmers are feeling that right now.
We saw an immediate impact. You know, we buy some of our rail from Japan. It's got chemical structure and length that we don't get in the U.S. We actually pay a premium for that rail. And the first boat post the 25% steel tariffs cost us $6 million more.
Metal right now between stainless steel and aluminized metal has increased significantly. The 25% tariff that come into play really has upped our cost of manufacturing about 39%. It's extremely difficult for us to make sure that we remain competitive with the products that are coming in from overseas as a finished goods. And in those cases, there is no tariff on those. If we were to put in the price increase that we needed, the end user would end up paying anywhere between $800 and $1,000 more for the product just due to the tariffs.
Okay.
The tariff issue is not good for anybody, and we are feeling a bit of that already. We try to swat that away, but you can imagine the number of things in our stores that have steel, and that is impacting cost of goods. I would say we're in the neighborhood of 10 to 15% of our business is being impacted by that.
The whopping price decline really has been in chickpeas. We've seen almost a 50% decline. If you don't have those markets to go into, or the markets are uncertain about what's going to happen in the future, they tend to look for alternate suppliers just to hedge their bets to make sure that they can cover their needs.
Our exports to China each year are pretty close to 10 million hides raw, and probably another 4 in wet blue, which is a semi-processed state. So the 25% tariff on these, returning the goods back to the United States, because in large part that's where they come, would certainly slow the trade.
So we would in effect be putting a tariff on an American-originated product.
Correct. There is no furniture, leather, tanning, or finishing in the United States anymore.
It left. It went offshore.
It's gone. It's been gone for almost 20 years. That's why when we got swept up in this mess, we were like, this must be the administration's scorch the earth policy with China, because there's really no real good reason.
Would a 25% tariff effectively put you out of business?
I don't want to say something like that, but
it would damage you.
Undeniably, there is lurking serious ramifications.
The $200 billion round really contains about 80% of our goods. The announcement up to 267 more really covers 100% of what we sell. And being a small to mid-sized business, you talk about disproportionately harming our business. Shoot, this really does it. And this trickles down to the consumer, to you. And when you're buying a good that's $100 today, you're going to be paying $125 tomorrow. So that 25% tariff really just passes down to the consumer as a tax at the end of the day. Our biggest fear, frankly, is that the larger businesses that play in our space can absorb some of that 25%. But being a small to mid-sized business, we really don't have that option.
We've seen a price increase first on steel that's used in our distinctive metal containers. It's going to cost us into the six figures this year in extra costs because the amount of domestic supply is not enough to meet all of the U.S. demand. So when those tariffs went into effect, they put pressure on other people who may be sourcing internationally. Now they all want that U.S. supply. Silicone, that took effect a few weeks ago. There was a market that was already chaotic due to global supply shortages, due to the economic success worldwide. It's not going to help.
So what are you doing in response?
Well, one of the things we did was we looked at the chaos and we said we need to stock up. We need to buy material now at a known price instead of waiting for our normal supply chain purchasing times where that price could increase later in the future.
Everybody's concerned about the impact of a significant rise in cost to the end consumer. And certainly the first two rounds of tariffs were minimal impact to the consumer, but the one that goes into effect on Monday will have a significant impact. And there's concern that it will dampen consumer demand for the products.
Prices are probably going to be going up from our supplier by about 5%, and that equates to probably about a couple pennies per can, but when we're ordering a truckload of about 200,000 cans, that counts as an extra several $1,000s to the shipment. And that's an expense that we really can't pass on anywhere. We have to eat the entire cost because we're trying to maintain a competitive price point in the wholesale market for our product. We're a very small business here. We're producing probably between 1,000 and 1,500 barrels of beer a year right now, which sounds big, but when you talk to somebody like Anheuser-Busch, Miller Coors, the big guys that are producing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of barrels of beer, we just can't meet those economies of scale.
We're a big multinational company doing business in many markets against other multinational competitors and local competitors. And free trade ensures a fair playing field and a competitive playing field, so it's something that we support. Having said that, just because of the economics in our industry, we produce most of the products that we sell in the markets in which they're sold. So tariffs, while hitting us, are not a significant factor. They won't hold up our overall progress.
China's been taking out of our country $500 billion a year. And it was time to stop. And we're going to have a great relationship with China, but we have to be fair to ourselves.
Stupid. Difference of 150. Stupid. Nothing impacted on the government. Stupid. Just plain stupid. Look at this. In October 2018, you put a $250 billion tariff on things that are coming in from China. China put 110 billion things coming from the United States. In essence, you're charging yourself goddamn $140 billion for the service. And the Republican Party is for the small businesses and for small government. And they want him to be president. That's what I don't understand. They want him to be president. What kind of dumb shit is this? Really? Dumb shit. Dumb shit, man. I apologize, but this should make me mad. That willingly blind loyalty to follow someone who bankrupts company. Hasn't changed. Bankrupts company. All right, so this is not a Trump heavy or Republican heavy podcast. let's see what Biden wants to do with his $1.7 trillion budget. Sorry, $7.3 trillion budget.
U.S. President Joe Biden on Monday unveiled a $7.3 trillion election year budget, aimed at convincing skeptical Americans he can run the economy better than his Republican rival Donald Trump. To help cut the deficit and pay for new programs, Biden wants to raise taxes by trillions on corporations and high earners.
You know, I may not get it done, but if you give me a Congress, I will. No, I'm serious.
Thank you.
Biden's budget for the 2025 fiscal year, which starts this October, includes raising the corporate income tax rate to 28%, forcing those with wealth of $100 million to pay at least 25% of their income in taxes, and letting the government negotiate to bring more drug costs down.
Look, this year Medicare is negotiating lower prices for some of the costliest drugs on the market that treat everything from heart disease to arthritis. That's in the law that we've already passed. Now it's time to go further and give Medicare the power to negotiate lower prices for even more drugs over the next decade.
The budget, released days after Biden's fiery State of the Union speech, was quickly rejected by the Republican House of Representatives Speaker Mike Johnson, saying it reflected an insatiable appetite for reckless spending and a disregard for fiscal responsibility. Biden's campaign has struggled to shake voters' concerns about high prices and the U.S. economy's direction. According to a January Reuters Ipsos poll, 40% of Americans think Trump would handle the economy best, compared with 31% who picked Biden and 28% who either didn't know or refused to answer. White House budgets are always something of a presidential wish list, but that is even more so in the current political climate. U.S. agencies are currently operating without a full year 2024 budget, after hardline Republicans rejected an agreed upon spending level.
Yes. Okay. We can go back to what he said, which was, he said if you give him a Congress, he will get most of that stuff done. Right now he has a 1-seat vote in the Senate and four seats. Yeah, 4 seats. The deficit in the House. Give him the House, give him the Senate. He'll get some of that stuff done. Hopefully he can get it done. And that will be a great wish list that we can do. Okay, since we did Biden, let's go ahead and meet the craziest mofo. And he's black. Yeah, he's black. He black. He black too. He black. He black. He black. And that shit is amazing to me that this dude is running for governor in North Carolina. Yeah, he is crazy like a fox, cause
about picking which Facebook grandpa gets to control the nukes.
I don't know which one is worse. Check it out.
There were also primaries for other offices, and one of the most important ones was in North Carolina.
The North Carolina race for the governor's mansion is going to be among the most competitive, and now CNN is projecting that the Republican candidate in that race is going to be Lieutenant Governor.
Vote not. Vote blue. They didn't make this shit up. Mother, motherfucker. Motherfucker. That motherfucker said. Yes. That motherfucker said that shit. When he said that shit too. Not funny. Fuck one. Fuck, well, he's not. Yes, that motherfucker said he is Malcolm MLK times two MLK on motherfucking steroids. No, no, fucking no. Absolutely not. Not happening. No. To anyone who's listening in North Carolina, please do not vote for that. Don't vote for that. Please, I'm begging you. All right. Guess what? Guess who's in the news? Yes, your favorite pedophile. He might not be a pedophile, but yes, Mark Gates has been subpoenaed. Check it out.
Bit of breaking news now. Allegations of paying for sex with the text messages to back it up. We have new details now tied to that Congressional House ethics investigation into Florida Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz. ABC has now learned that Gaetz has been subpoenaed amid those allegations.
Contact. Or his rich daddy a barber. West Indian.
I feel sorry for Fox News. No, I don't. They had a choice: journalism and the pursuit of truth, or join a cult. That said, I think it's good for Democrats to appear on these shows, even though reciting facts to someone like Sean Hannity is like trying to teach a dog algebra. I know, I've been there.
Telling me this is Donald Trump's fault? This is in the left. Violence is in the DNA of the American left and always has been.
Well, let me tell you what, if there's anyone paying attention to the details of 2024, it's Donald Trump.
Tim Scott is a Trumpy fluffer. If you don't know what that is, don't look it up.
Who is now co-running the RNC? Laura Trump. Why? Because he understands that the devil's in the details. So he puts his brilliant daughter-in-law in charge of our RNC apparatus.
Laura Trump is brilliant? Yeah, well, anyone standing next to Eric looks brilliant. But if you're a Republican, is it brilliant that she's putting every dime, her words, only into Trump's campaign?
So that all that Ryan's talked about, wise man he is.
A wise man?
The murderous Iranian regime with sanctions and starved Hamas and...
Tim Scott is an embarrassment. Watching him make it's like watching Donald Trump try to climb out of a hot tub. It's a saggy concoction of wrinkled, pasty skin tags.
Why are African Americans, Hispanics, Asians all looking at Donald Trump with new eyes?
New eyes because they gouged out their old ones? Let's run with that. What has Trump done or said that would attract African Americans to his ticket?
This is my moment. I've been waiting for this.
Was it his fine by the Justice Department for racial discrimination in housing? Or this maybe?
Look at my African American over here.
Or maybe saying that black people like him because, well, you gotta hear it.
These lights are so bright in my eyes that I can't see too many people out there. But I can only see the black ones. I can't see any white ones, you see? We've all seen the mugshot. And you know who embraced it more than anybody else? The black population. It's incredible. You see black people walking around with my mugshot. You know, they do shirts and they sell them for $19 a piece.
And Hispanics are flocking to Trump? What was it? Was it the kids in cages or calling them drug dealers? And, well, you know.
They're bringing crime. They're rapists.
This pathetic fluffer from South Carolina then just starts making shit up. I mean, really making up facts and delivering them like the little grifter he is.
We were better off under Trump. Economically, the lowest unemployment rates.
Look it up. Trump left office as the first president since World War II to have fewer people employed than when he took office. Even before the pandemic, the manufacturing sector was in a recession.
Crime. We had law and order. African Americans in Minneapolis voted to refund the police and overturn their own city council who wanted to defund the police.
Well, that's one way to put it, Senator. While African Americans were protesting this, Trump was conferring with Michael Flynn about declaring martial law and shooting black protesters in the street. And even before Floyd, when African Americans were protesting police violence, Trump said this.
To get that